Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is the final day of the month. It is October 31st. The year is 2016, and I just hit Legend in Hearthstone. Possibly, maybe. Oh my god, it was a long grind. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it. This just happened like 10 minutes ago. I got some water, I used the bathroom, and I was trying to think like what I actually want to say. We decided we were going to do a speech. This is a speech. And I want to give a little bit of context. And we're going to see if my ability to give a speech on the fly is still good. Ooh. So first of all, for the past about 2 weeks, I was pretty devoted to actually hitting Legend in Hearthstone. I was spending most of my streams just, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Decktacular shows. Instead of doing a new deck, which is what I normally do every show, I was just laddering. Right? Just grind. Mostly mid-range Shaman, tried some Freeze Mage a little bit here and there, but mostly mid-range Shaman. And after, this is a winged computation, after about 30-35 hours, I finally hit Legend, with the final few hours being just this morning on the 31st. I started playing at around 1 p.m., and we hit it around 3 p.m. So it was cool. Rank 2, 3 stars, hitting Legend. And how do I feel? I feel fine, I think is what I'd say. I'm glad I'm not climbing anymore. I feel fine. So, I think the big thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that I love Hearthstone. I love Hearthstone. I do a different deck in every single show. When I'm not on stream, I'm fiddling with different deck ideas, often Shadow Priest and Ramp Druid. And I think the big takeaway for this experience for me is that the climb to Legend was one of the least fun experiences I've had playing almost any game for the last long time. Truly, the grind to Legend was not in any way, for me, fun. So that's what I want to talk about. And again, I will stress, I love Hearthstone, so I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm not saying Hearthstone is bad, I'm saying I really did not like the grind to Legend, right? I want to talk about a little bit about me as a gamer, what it is that I look for and appreciate in terms of, trying to climb up ladders. I want to talk about how my experience with Legend didn't mesh well with that. And then I want to talk about, maybe some thoughts/feedback for what I think might be able to change some of the behavior of the cards in the gameplay to make a Legend climb pleasing and fun for me. And then I think the most important thing of all is I want to wrap up. This is, again, the most important thing. I want to wrap up talking about the ways in which I might be completely and totally full of shit. Right? That's an important thing. Because, again, I just did this 10 minutes ago. I got some water and did tummy time with my baby cats. So this might not be the most robust, thought-out thing, but we're going to give it a go, okay? So first of all, piece number 1. I really like Hearthstone a lot. If you have ever watched my show, the theme of it is the Decktacular. It's a new show every single day. I actually, in practice, don't play a deck really ever more than, for more than 24 hours. I'm just constantly switching, constantly playing with new things. And I think that Hearthstone, it taps into the ability to tinker and to do different types of gameplay really easily and really, really well. I mean, the fact that this deck creation program, the fact that I can just so quickly form, actually not a Shaman deck, let's not do that. I can so quickly form something, this is not a good deck, but already it took me less than 20 seconds of talking to have most of a deck ready. And then, quickly I can hit the go button and I'm playing a new deck, right? That's so fun. That is so unbelievably fun to be able to switch around and fiddle with strategies. And also just the general interface and the types of strategies and cards are. This is the reason that Hearthstone is pretty much the game I play most days. Right? There is a reason. So I want to stress that. But I grew up being a competitive player. I grew up playing Brood War. I grew up going to tournaments and traveling, and whenever I would pick up a new game, I wanted to try to figure out how to get good at it. I didn't do anything except like super hardcore competitive gameplay. And in terms of ladders, here's what I love about a ladder experience, right? Here's what I love about a ladder. I have a certain skill level, and my opponent has a certain skill level. And if we're even, it's a 50-50 chance who's going to win or lose. And if I'm against someone who's way better than me, maybe there's a 10% chance I'll win, right? I still got a chance. I still have a reasonable, 10% is actually still a reasonable percentage to beat someone better than me. And let's say I beat that person that I have a 10% chance to win against. Yeah! And I climb up the ladder a little bit, which means that the person I'm likely playing against next is generally going to be even better than the person I played before. So maybe I'm down to a 5% chance. And if I win that, now I'm against someone where I'm only at like a 2.5% chance to win. And in other words, if I'm climbing up the ladder but staying at the same skill level, it becomes increasingly less likely for me to be able to go up the ladder. Naturally, there will be this vortex of I am not good enough that will pull me back down to an appropriate rating. And as a Brood War player, Brood War, aka StarCraft 1, was an incredibly unforgiving game. That game was savage. The only way that you would ever hit a certain rating on a ladder is really if you were good enough. That was it. And I love improving at a game. I absolutely adore it. Like, let me tell you my favorite thing in a serious, tough-ass competitive game. It's when there's something that I've been losing to, right? There's something that I just can't beat. Like in Brood War, it was a bunker rush. I just can't beat the damn bunker rush. Oh, God. So every game I'd play against it, I would lose and I would lose. So I would go and I'd practice it a lot, and I'd practice and I'd practice. And then there's the very first game where I'd actually hold off the bunker rush and then go on to win the game. But that's not even the moment that I love. That's a big moment of relief. It's after I win again against the bunker rush, and then again and again and again and again and again, and all of a sudden, I have beat a bunker rush so many times that I get excited to play against it. I go from someone who was fearful and annoyed at bunker rushes to someone who can't wait to crush another paltry bunker rush because, damn it, I'm better. I am a better player. I adore that feeling. And a ladder creates a nice motivational structure for me to solve those problems and get a little bit of external validation. I worked on the bunker rush in Terran vs. Zerg. I figured out how to hold off that early Zealot leg all in Zerg vs. Protoss. There was a Zealot speed upgrade that people would call Zealot legs. I know that sounds weird. A Zealot leg all in. I would hold these off, and to make up a rating point, I would go from something like a B- to a B+. Oh, wow. And the B- to B+, certainly satisfying, but those feelings of improvement getting better. Oh my gosh, I live for those. I adore those. And the thing that, the joy from the ladder is, again, the external representation that I'm doing better and better and better, and I'm overcoming certain difficulties and I'm overcoming certain obstacles. So, how does this apply to my climb to legend in Hearthstone? Well, I've pretty much just been a tinkerer. I've pretty much just tried a little bit. Whatever, let me actually try a ramp druid. What if I can do a Blood Warrior's warrior? What if I can does Echo Control work in Wild still? Like, just trying different things out. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to just pick a top tier deck and I'm going to grind a legend. And the experience that I had was one where I did not necessarily have to play better. I had the win rate, and I simply had to continue to hit play. So I want to take a step back, and I want to think about that for a moment, right? In any card game, or I should say in most card games, there's two simple ways that you can improve your win percentage, right? One way is the cards you choose to place in your deck, right? It is the creation of the deck process. For instance, if you are running a control deck with no Flame Strikes and no Doomsayers, you might be able to increase your win rate by including Flame Strikes and Doomsayers, right? Okay, so deck creation. The other side is what I'm going to call in-match execution. This is if I forced you to play a deck. How much could you increase the win rate of that deck by? How much could you decrease the win rate of that deck by? And my experience of playing, I felt like the deck, the mid-range Shaman deck, dominated in terms of deciding what my win rate would be, and that my in-game decisions did not really have a dramatic impact. And so, what does this mean? What does this mean? It means that when I sit down to play, I'm going to have something like, let's call it a 55% win rate. Now, if we do some math, we can compute that out of every 10 games, I should win about 1 star. If I have a 55% win rate, I can get 1 star per 10 games. And if we just say, okay, well, a game is about 10 minutes long, again, just as total, simple math, that's 100 minutes per star. And if you're rank 5, you need 25 stars to hit legend. So you should need to play for about 2,500 minutes, which is a little over 40 hours, to guarantee a hit to legend, assuming your win rate is about 55%. Okay. Half a star, not 1? No, it should be 1 star, right? It should be 1 star, because if we played 55% win rate, if I have 100 games, I should win 55 of them, and I should lose 45 of them. That difference is 10. I won 10 more than I lost. That's 10 stars in 100 games. Simplify it down to 1 star in 10 games, right? Important tip, broadcasters, anytime you actually do math on stream, you're going to lose viewers, so just skip it. So anyways. Damn, I got derailed. What the fuck was I talking about? I derailed myself. Oh yeah. So when I'm in these games and I'm playing them, my yearn, my urge, my wish is to go back to the experience that I have when I'm playing a game like Brood War. Something like, what are the things that I'm doing wrong that I can pick out, that I can change in order to broach a certain rating level, in order to, okay, I'm stuck at rank 5, what are the problems I'm doing, and I fix some problems, and now I'm at rank 4. I did not really have that sensation. And so the experience for me was one of just waiting. I just waited. I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited until I hit legend. And that's part of the reason why I said, yeah, I feel fine. I hit legend because I was like, oh, I guess we're done now. Part of me is satisfied, but the other part of me feels no similarity to any of the other ladder experiences that I've had before. And I want to talk about why this is some conjecture about why I think this might be the case. There's certain cards in Hearthstone that I feel like create some interesting decisions to them. And I'll actually not do those first. I'll do the cards that I think don't necessarily create the most interesting decisions. Totem Golem has excellent stats. So on turn 2, I'm simply going to play this, right? I'm simply going to play this. There's not a lot of situations where, let's assume for a moment I don't have any other 2-cost cards. There's not a lot of situations in which I just wouldn't want to run the Totem Golem down. And there's also really not a lot of finesseful, weird, cutesy stuff that I can do with a Totem Golem. And I'm not saying that that makes it a bad card. Just to be clear, this is just a highly efficient, well-statted card, right? It's the only 2-drop that has this many stats. And yes, it has overloads, but... okay. What about Tunnel Trog? Tunnel Trog, a little interesting. You're trying to set it up to get overload. Right? You might want to put this down first and then run out Feral Spirits. Or put this down first and then do a Lightning Strike. But for the most part, it's still stats. Rarely will I try to debate strongly when I want to run the Tunnel Trog down. Rarely will I debate strongly when I want to run the Totem Golem down. You just kind of put it down. Again, if it's the only thing that's in this cost range. Now, to contrast, I actually think Fireball is an example of a card that I feel like has a lot of interesting choice around it. Often you'll be in a situation where you could shoot the thing, you can afford to shoot the thing, but is that the right guy that you want to kill? Who is this going to be better spent shooting my opponent in the face? Is it going to be better spent on this minion that's on the board? I actually feel some choice around where and when I want to use the fireball. And I want to come back to, you know, the Tunnel Trog thing. This Tunnel Trog and this Totem Golem. There's certainly planning that will happen, right? You'll certainly have to think about what you want to do on the next turn. You'll certainly want to try to think about how much you can buff your Tunnel Trog safely. But I'm not in the same scope of choices around Totem Golem that I am with a Fireball. Where in one game I might use it to just kill 2 forests like enemy Flame Wakers. And in another game I might use it to go directly to the face. Or in another game I might say, ugh, I'm in a weird spot. I have no way to deal with his big threats and I actually need this Fireball for the big threats. It feels like I am making executional decisions with the Fireball. Whereas with the Totem Golem, I just play the Totem Golem. And so, you know, Freeze Mage I actually find very fun for this reason. I think Frostbolt, pretty simple. Often you want to use it early, but shit, can you actually use both Frostbolts early if you draw them? Maybe you actually want to save that for this Ice Lance. Or you know what? Maybe Ice Lance you don't want to save as dealing damage to the enemy face. You want to use it just to freeze an enemy unit. I am not by any means saying that Freeze Mage is fun to play against. I'm not making anything too strong about these sorts of things. I like when cards have a feeling of an interesting decision about them. So here's another card that I actually really liked a lot. I typed in Death. Wait, how do I go to Wild? The Death Lord. I want to show Death Lord, damn it. Wild collection. Is this how I do this? How do I go to frickin' all cards? There we go. Death Lord. I like Death Lord. I liked this card. This is the sort of card where on turn 3, sometimes I just don't want to play it. Sometimes I'm up against like a handlock that would be running Molten and Mountain Giants. And I'd be going, let me hold on to it. I actually had some fun plays when I was playing some Control Priests, because sometimes I would run out a Death Lord hoping to get a huge giant that I could then Light Bomb. It allowed me to get more value out of... oh, shit. I just lost power on my fucking speakers. There we go. I would wind up getting extra value. Even Light Bomb itself, outside of Death Lord, I liked that in some matchups I wanted to get huge turns. In other matchups, I needed the Light Bomb just to kill a specific big creature. I liked, for instance, in against Miracle Rogue, that I would be saving the Light Bomb for the Gadgets and Auctioneer, strictly. Now, I'm by no means saying that these cards are balanced. I'm not saying these are great cards. I'm not saying these are the perfect cards to put back in and that we need Light Bomb back. This is just a quality of cards that I like. I like cards like these and like Death Lord, where I can put in some serious thought and decision making into when I want to run it down that can really meaningfully change my win rate. Or that someone could say, okay, against those sort of control decks, don't even run the Death Lord out. Wait until you actually have a sweeper, and they're going to use it and your sweeper as a cool combo. So these are cards that, again, have choice associated with them. What's a card? Okay, here is... Azure Drake is a card that I will say often, on turn 5, you just play. I think this is a good card. I think Azure Drake is an awesome card on that deck construction level. It's a solid body. It gives you a card. It gives you some spell damage. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife card. But very rarely, when I can afford to play an Azure Drake, and I don't have like another 5-drop or 3, if I don't have another obvious play, rarely am I going to say, ooh, I want to keep that Azure Drake. I'm just going to run it down, right? I'm just going to run it down on turn 5. So, I think G Spinner D is talking about something that is probably the best way to put it. I like cards that have a lot of consideration for the situation that you're in versus some good value cards. And I think that the classic example that people have been encountering lately is, is when the Shaman plays a Tunnel Trog on turn 1 to get stats, then plays a Totem Golem to get stats, and then later on, hell, runs out a Flame Wreathed Faceless. Oh my gosh, what kind of board does the opponent have? It just has a lot of good stats. You know, the board is a 5 or a 4/3, a 3/4, and a 7/7, and you're overloaded. And so a lot of the cards that I really, really adore are the ones that create that sort of thing. And I'm by no means saying that they're absent or that they don't exist. But I like these sort of interesting choiciness things that wind up happening. You know, some of my favorite cards, as example of this, is just like Hex. Alright, I have Hex. Okay. He does have Tyrion and Ragnaros the Light Lord, but you know what? I'm smart. I'm going to use my understanding of Hearthstone to say that this Murloc-Odin, I need to Hex his Murloc War Leaders. Or, oh, he ran Sylvanas out. That seems like it's a good Hex target, but it's probably better if I just kill things, because I'll still keep control of the board, and then I'll save the Hex for later. I like those sorts of decisions. I like that sort of the situational context where I'm starting to analyze and choosing on stuff. So, I don't know if this is even... I don't even know if this is like a feasible thing. I'm by no means proposing a solution. I emotionally, as I am playing, am feeling a lack of in-game decisions and in-game consideration of what I'm seeing in order to play certain cards. This is pretty much the thing that people, you know, call like the you just pilot the deck. The deck is what brings you up, not necessarily the cards. Or the deck brings up, not necessarily the play with the cards. And so the resultant experience for me was one of actually helplessness. The biggest feeling that I had when I was laddering was one of helplessness. The most agency I felt and the most thrill I felt was my incredible ability to call Ragnaros shots. Or I should say more accurately, it was my choice of deck. That's the biggest agency that I felt. But given that it's well known right now that mid-range Shaman is extremely powerful and does not really have any peers, I just helplessly awaited the results. And I actually want more struggle. Because if there's more struggle, then I can change the input of my decisions and see a better output of outcomes. So I think my favorite deck of all time in this context was Kalento's Freeze Mage. Kalento's Fatigue Mage. Sorry, my brain is a little bad. Kalento's Fatigue Mage is a deck that Kalento used to hit #1 on the ladder on this insane win streak against a wide variety of decks. He brought it to a tournament and won a tournament using this Fatigue Mage. And I tried it out, and I watched other streamers try it out, and they just lost a shitload. Like a shitload. So many losses. Only a few people were actually able to pilot it well, because it was such a weird deck. It had cards like Duplicate in there. Another really interesting contextual card. You gotta set it up, first of all, and then you have to decide what it is that you want to duplicate. It takes a while to do all that sort of thing. So I think that part of the reason why I want this choiciness, the more difficulty there, is one, purely my own satisfaction as a gamer. I really, again, coming all the way back to the start, I adore the feeling of being stuck in a situation, struggling, overcoming that, and seeing the result. I was losing to bunker rushes, and now I'm not losing to bunker rushes. Or I was losing with Fatigue Mage, and then I figured out a whole bunch of ways to adjust my play, and now I'm winning nonstop with Freeze Mage. Yeah! I personally love that. So for a selfish reason, I want more of that struggle and difficulty in terms of the decision-making of the cards. But I think at a deeper level, I would like there to be more executional difficulty to permit a gradation of skill in Hearthstone that's more apparent. If the biggest determining factor of the win rate is the deck that is chosen, then it's very difficult for a tip-top pro to meaningfully differentiate themselves from a non-tip-top pro. Because they're both choosing the same deck, so... And certainly, there is skill in Hearthstone. I think this is very important that I note. There certainly is skill in Hearthstone, where there's a pro that might be able to take a deck that I, at my absolute best, could win at 55% win rate, and they can bring it to 60, 61, which is quite a leap. But where's the 95% win rate, right? Where I'm at 55 and he's at 95. Like, where's that sort of thing, where these pros are just always at the top? That's the sort of thing that I love, that I really want to see. That's the thing that I love about Magic the Gathering, is how many of those pros keep rising up to the top, keep showing up, even as cards rotate in and out. Yeah, where the hell was I going with that? Yeah, I think skill gradation is, again, from a selfish perspective, I just want that. And on the other side, I think that it is important for a competitive scene. And I want to end with, I think, what I called the most important part. There are ways in which I might be completely and totally, utterly full of shit. Here's one of the first ways in which I might be full of shit. It might be that I was, in fact, making many errors when I initially was playing, and someone who's better than I am is watching and going, wow, he clearly is doing these 15 things better, and I'm just too oblivious to know. Maybe I actually was improving and doing things better. Second thing where I might be full of shit. Maybe there's things that I was doing wrong consistently in the games that I didn't notice. That could be one. Maybe my understanding of cards like Fireball and Duplicate and Deathlord compared to more just rounded, well-statted cards like the Tunnel Trogs and Totem Golems, maybe my understanding of that is just fucking bad. And there's someone sitting there like, Jesus, that's why he was losing. He keeps running his Totem Golem out on turn 2 like an idiot. And maybe I just don't know. Maybe I'm just completely, totally wrong. I have not double-checked this with anyone. These are simply some things that I think. So, I think to summarize, I would say that I really like when I cannot climb up a ladder because I'm simply not skillful enough. And that the only way to improve is to be more skillful. And I like when there's a game where when I improve and demonstrate more skill, I see the difference in the outcome, both in the game and out of the game by me climbing up the ladder. I think that some of the ways that this is happening is via cards that are simply well-statted and on curve, and not enough of these cards that you can afford early, but you want to make contextual plans around. Cards like Duplicate. Or even something simple like a Fireball or a Hex. Choosing the appropriate target, given your knowledge of the game. And lastly, I could be totally full of shit. So, you know, to summarize, I really did not enjoy going to Legend, and I'm deeply relieved that I finally now get to go back and actually play Hearthstone the way I want to play it, which is by tinkering with a whole bunch of different random decks. So maybe when the new set comes out, there will be a whole slew of different cards that are in there. And as far as I'm concerned, I truly think that the designers and the process that Blizzard uses on their games, I think that it's the best in the world. I have gotten thousands of hours of enjoyment out of Hearthstone. We'll still continue to do so. We'll happily spend probably a few hundred on the next expansion, and I'm excited to see what the cards are. So, thank you, Blizzard, for making a incredibly fun game. For someone like me who really adores tinkering, I happen to have an unpleasurable experience on just this one particular thing. But by no means does that spoil my entire experience of the game. So, I think that's it. Anyone have any questions or thoughts? Was I cogent? Was I coherent? Did I make sense? Was I a sense man? Was I a sense man? Hi, Despy. Did I make sense? Do I make sense to you, sweetheart? Oh my god, you want to snuggle?